Anyway, the main thing that I'm impressed with the Clipse album is don't really have anything to do with the music. It's a byproduct of the music, I guess. But I was watching the Joe and Jada podcast, and man, it was so beautiful that, you know, regardless of what the Clipse rap about, cocaine and the streets and all that, they there's a lot of talk about God, about Jesus in their music. And I've been a fan of Fat Joe, I've been a fan of Jadakiss for years, and I've never seen, I'm not saying they haven't, but I cannot remember a time I've ever seen either of them speak about Jesus, say that they believe in Jesus, or none of that. And when the Clipse went on their podcast, they all talked about Jesus and their faith in Jesus and their belief in Jesus. And that was just special for me, man, to see Jadakiss top 5 dead or alive, and that ain't no cap. He definitely top 5 dead or alive, and to see that he's a man of God, that he believes in Jesus, was just such a beautiful thing for me, man. It was like, wow, like regardless of what he believed in, I'm a fan. I love his body of work. I love what he represents and the way he carries himself throughout the game with such grace, but still, you know, a street element. But he's highly respected. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about Jadakiss ever. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't remember exactly, but if you want, you can go. I urge you to go watch the episode of Joe and Jada podcast when the Clipse came on there, and they was talking about Jesus, and Fat Joe was also talking about Jesus and how they love Jesus. And I think that's just so important, man. One thing that I admire about Islam is people who believe in Islam, whether they have a street background or if they're scholars, they don't have no shame or no hesitation to publicly speak and admit that they love their God, right? They don't have none. And in the Christian culture, I feel like for some reason people shy away from sometimes speaking about their love for Jesus. And you know, for me, I love the discipline that my Muslim brothers have, and the way that they operate is very much structured. They're very structured. That's the way. I love the way that they're so structured. And I feel like in Christianity, you know, we're missing a little bit of that structure as a whole, from even just the way that we speak about God and about Jesus. You know, I feel like sometimes people cower away from it, and I don't know why. You know, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because, you know, Christianity gets a bad rap sometimes because some of these strange churches that pop up all over the place, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, you know, none of that should stop you from proclaiming your love for Jesus. And I think that the Clipse, regardless of the street messaging that they have about drug dealing and, you know, things that happen in their life in the streets, Jesus is woven through their whole album, and it's almost impossible to interview them without speaking about Jesus. And I think that's very important. I think it's gotten overlooked by a lot of the reviewers. So that's why I'm speaking on it. I'm reviewing it, you know? Cool. Great album, great bars. Shout out to the guys. They're older and they're showing that there's no age limit on hip hop. But the most important thing about the Clipse album is that they make you have to talk about Jesus. You cannot speak about the Clipse and not mention Jesus. And I think it's very important. It's very needed. I feel like God is using them, right? I feel as though God works in mysterious ways because, you know, on the surface, a lot of people, oh, but they talking about cocaine. Okay, Well, a lot of people who love raps about cocaine also had to hear about Jesus, where they might not ever hear it anywhere else, right? Okay? So I think it's important that, we highlight, cool, there's some negativity, or what some people would consider negativity, because the reality is they're not selling cocaine right now. So why can't we look at them as a Denzel Washington or a Damson, the actor on Snowfall, right? Where they're just acting. And I'm not saying that they're fake, but we do have to get to a point as a culture where some of our best poets and some of our best artists are speaking from experiences that they've had or things that they've been around, and that's okay. I think there's a very negative and dark, detrimental thing that's going on in music, especially with the drill music, where they're doing something and then singing about it the next day, and not only is it a dark vibe, but it's literally putting people in jail. We just seen some of the top rappers in the game suffer from this, whole RICOs and all these different things, because people are committing crimes and then singing about it in real time, and it could be entertaining, right? And we could dance and we can do these dances and whatever and all these cool things, but people are ruining their lives off of that. And in every other music, they're allowed to tell stories, and not just music, every other art form, right? They're allowed to, tell stories and play as characters. But in hip hop, it's like, oh, you ain't really doing that. You're not that. You're not that. Now, it's one thing to run around in real life and portray yourself as a kingpin or as this and that, and you're not really that. I could see how that could get boring or people don't like that. But the Clipse don't carry themselves in real life like they are drug dealers. They carry themselves like artists, right? They show you the process. There's no drug dealing going on. They're not posting up on the block. They're not acting in their actual life like they're drug dealers. But that's what they sing about. That's their brand. That's what they sing about. And I think that's okay, because like I said, it's a Denzel Washington vibe to me, right? Denzel played Training Day. He not running around like he's the dude from Training Day. You know what I mean? That's just a role that he played, and he turns it on and he turns it off. It's art. Now, are there glimpses of Denzel's actual life wrapped up in there? Probably. There probably is. Denzel probably did have to stand on business with people in a certain way or do certain things. And, he's been famous for a long time, but 100%, there's actors even like a 50 Cent, right? We know 50 Cent was tied up in a lot of street stuff. He's been shot, 9 times and all these different things, and who knows what he's done to other people, right? So when he acts, he pulls from that, but he's not running around doing that stuff right now. He's opening film studios and doing all these things. So it's like we have to have more grace and acceptance for our artists and our creators in the culture, that they don't have to be throwing their life away in order to make good art. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to be actively doing these things in order to speak about them. You know what I'm saying? That's dumb, for real. That's not smart. That's terrible. So with that being said, I just bring it all back. I love that Jesus is woven into the album. I think that's the most important thing about their album to me. If you haven't heard the album, go listen to it. If you haven't seen the episode of Joe and Jada where the Clipse where they interview the Clipse, go watch that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I got for today, man. That's my review on the Clipse album. I hope they win Grammys and awards and all that. I think it's incredible what they're doing for older artists to show y'all that it's still possible, because like I said in the beginning, they flyer than a lot of y'all. They traveling more than a lot of y'all. You know what I'm saying? They skin glowing. They must be on good diets. Like, they carrying it super sturdy. They doing everything they supposed to be doing. They not running around. They married. They raising their families. Like, they super sturdy, and they making art for the streets. And maybe one day, you know, they won't. I don't know. But it's not up to me to judge the art that they're doing. I'm picking out the good parts, right? And I think that is something as Christians we have to, you know, have grace and let God work in other people's lives the way that God working in other people's lives. Nobody's perfect. Even the pastors that stand up in front of the church that y'all think is perfect, everybody falls short. That's why Jesus died for our sins, because he knew that everybody will fall short. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear nobody saying, well, I don't care if God is if they make people talk about Jesus, they talk about selling cocaine. That ain't for you to judge. The fact that they're reaching people who otherwise wouldn't hear about Jesus at all, I think that's way more important than judging them about their content. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, that's my review for today. Shout out to the Clipse. Let God sort them out. Go check that out if you haven't. I know I'm super late, but that's just what was on my heart and my mind, because like I told y'all in the last video, I'm trying to get more comfortable. Y'all see I got a mic this time. I wasn't playing no games. Last video, no mic. This video, I got a mic. You feel me? I'm stepping it up. And I don't even know if I need to be holding this joint. I probably could just put it on the table, right? Like this. But I kind of wanted y'all to see that I stepped it up and that I got a mic now. You know what I mean? And it's a cool mic. You feel me? Nice joint. USB joint. So it is what it is, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave me some critiques. Leave me some feedback. Let me know if it's anything else that y'all want me to talk about. Any questions. Y'all can't say nothing to offend me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Please, let's talk about it. Everybody tap in. Everybody tune in. Like, subscribe. And I'll see y'all on the next video, man. Holla at your boy.